Welcome to Yes You Can Paint. We're down here at Daylesford today and it's such a glorious day. We're here at the lake and there's so many things to see and do, so let's go and explore.
G'day folks, welcome to Yes You Can Paint. Rod Moore from Moore Art School with you. And this week Sue and I have been down to Daylesford Lake, which is a beautiful part of Victoria countryside in the spa country there. And what we're going to do is a little painting of the lake house, the cafe on Daylesford Lake, and some of the trees and everything around it and a few ducks and things that you might find on the lake. So it's going to be a great little painting. What I've done is I've just gone and drawn in a basic pencil sketch, but I want to make sure that you can see it okay at home. So I'm going to just start out by just putting in the main shapes. And really when you do your drawing to get started painting, you just want to get the main shapes in. So I'll just take a little flat brush, swish it around in some thinner, and just pull out some of our burnt sienna. Okay, and I'm just making that nice and thin, that paint on the palette there. And what I'm going to do is just outline for you some of the key shapes. So we just want to make sure we get in those big shapes there. Really just the outline is all we're looking for. And it doesn't matter if you get it a bit rough and a bit loose. It's all about placement of the shapes at this stage. So just keep that in mind. Really just looking at getting your composition right and identifying where are those major shapes in the subject that you're painting. And that'll help simplify things down. I've just drawn in where the major shapes are, and now we can start putting down some colour because now we've got a sense of where everything needs to go. I'm going to take our ultramarine blue here, just pick it up with the palette knife, okay, and some titanium white. Now this sky, there's not a lot going on in this sky at all. In fact, because there's so much detail in the painting, we really want to downplay this sky. So we want a light value. This is probably one of our lightest values in the whole painting. So we'll just mix that up there. If you have a close look at that photo though of the lake and the lake or the cafe there, this sky really is of quite a light value. What I'll do is I'll just take my 1-inch brush, pop it in the thinner just to get it a bit moist and loosen up that paint. Okay, let me just show you there. Okay, so I'm just loosening that paint because it's too thick. Now for this water area, it's a darker value, the water, than the sky. Okay, it's a slightly darker value. And it's slightly on the grey side, so to grey it off, I'll add a little bit of burnt sienna in. And that's going to start to grey it off a little bit, okay? I think that's about right. So that's the sort of the colour that we've got there. Still quite a loose, thin mix because I've got quite a bit of thinner in there already. Now when you paint your water horizontally that way, okay? Get that. Okay, well we're making good progress here. We've got our sky and our water blocked in. Next thing is I want to get some of these background trees blocked in as well, and then we'll work towards our middle ground and our large main tree here. Now our background trees here are going to be a darker value than the sky, but we don't want them too dark because we want our middle distance trees to be darker again, and then this main tree to be our darkest value in the whole painting. So you're going to think about this just a little bit. What we're going to do is we need that earthy sort of green eucalyptusy colour, and the best way to mix that is with a bit of ultramarine blue and a bit of yellow ochre. Okay, when you mix those two together, you tend to get that Australian eucalypt kind of colour. Okay, so what I'm doing, you can see it there, mixing it up. I want it slightly to the yellow side. So you want to start off getting in that distant row of trees and keeping that a fairly light colour, and block all that in. Get your tops of your edges of those trees looking a bit random, And now as you come forward into the middle distance, a darker value so that you get that separation. See that separation between the distant trees and the middle distance trees there is so important. Again, just working on those shapes and blocking in the colour. And now we move to that big tree, which is our darkest value in the whole painting. So you want to get a nice cool dark down the bottom of the tree there. And as you move towards the top where the sunlight would be catching, you want to start to warm up that colour of a little bit more yellow in the mix. Okay, so what's left for us to do now as part of the blocking stage is to get some of this grassy area in. So let me just get a flat brush. I'm just going to use, what is the number 10 flat brush here? It's a chunking flat brush. I'm going to use a variety of brushes in the show. However, I'll always tell you what they are. If I don't, just sing out and I'll let you know. And you can always come to our website, moreartschool.com, and you can see what palette I use and what materials I use, and grab some free painting videos as well. I've got a whole series of them there for you. So feel free to do that. Now, so what I've done, I've just mixed up yellow ochre, a bit of titanium white, and that gives us that earthy, sort of sandy, not sandy, that's for a beach, earthy grass colour. Quite a bit of sunlight on in this section here. If I look at my photo, we've got quite a bit of sun was hitting right in through there. Now I've got to be careful of those darks. I don't want to get this colour muddy here. So hopefully you're starting to really get a sense that painting is the way we teach it, the Moore method of painting is really about 3 steps. The first step is to draw in your big shapes, and you saw how loosely I did that. Draw in those big shapes so you've got a sense of where everything's going to go. The next step is to block in the different shapes with the right values, and that's really important. If you get that right, then your painting's going to look right. And then the last step, which we haven't got to yet, we're still in the block-in stage. The last step then is just refinement and adjustment and adding in details. Okay. Next thing we have to think about is this barbecue area here. Inside, you can look straight through it. And so what we need to do is paint the back of what's happening out the back of that. Now, parts of it is in sunshine and parts of it is in shadow. Now, we've got some shadows in the foreground area there, but there are parts in there where the grass is in sunshine out the back. Okay, well, I think things are moving along quite nicely here. We've got most of what we need blocked in here now. I'm going to start adding in a few details, and then we'll come and work on our cafe and our barbecue area, pop some people walking along the path and so on. Now, what we're going to do, I'll just add in a few little details in this middle distance trees, a few highlights, just to really break it up and to add some interest and variety in there. And then we'll add in some tree trunks and things like that. We're not going to worry about the distant trees at all, okay? Now, one of the things I noticed looking at my photo, and it's so important to get these details in, is that there's a tree which is like a plum tree. It's almost like it's a purple colour, really. And it would be really nice to get that in. So I'm just going to use our alizarin crimson. You can have a look there. Alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue is what I've mixed up. And I'll just get a little touch of the titanium white in there. Okay, and that will make it'll just break up the whole area there, which is predominantly gum trees and of course our big pine tree here, but it will just make a little bit of an interest in that section right there. Okay, so I'll just pop that in, but what we do want to do is get some sunlight hitting onto our trees. Now the sunlight's definitely coming from up here and coming in here like that, so we just get a couple of highlights in a few spots there. And I'm going to go with our yellow ochre, okay, and some cadmium yellow because we're going to paint in the sunlight colour. The cadmium yellow is the best colour to do that with. So you can see there, yellow ochre and cadmium yellow, and of course our ultramarine blue. Okay, get a bit more cadmium yellow in there. That's going to give us a nice highlight colour. And we want to vary that colour up as well. We don't want to keep it too much the same. Now, just going to clean the brush off. mostly when I clean the brush while I'm painting, I just get a bit of paper towel and just pull the brush through it, unless I want to get some thinner in the brush. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tap the hairs of this brush into that paint there. Probably don't have enough, so I'll just mix up a bit more there. Why am I tapping the hairs in there? Well, what it does, it actually opens up the hairs on the brush, which I'll show you in 1 second. But just by tapping it there like so, it's going to open up the hairs, which is going to give us more of a tree and bush-like shape. Okay. And just with the edge, I'm just going to just indicate where the sun might be catching in a few spots. Keep the darks there though, we don't want to lose those darks. Okay, get a bit more yellow ochre into there. And try not to get that too clumpy, which I've just done a little bit there. And notice that I've waited for this to have dried off quite a bit before I've started to tackle this. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add in a couple of little indications of tree trunks here and there in the painting. So I've just got my little script liner brush, dip it in the thinner there to get it nice and thin. And I'm going to take some of this dark, want a little bit of, just get a little bit of the burnt sienna in there. And I'm mixing it up like it's an ink-like consistency. Down like so. There's going to obviously be tree trunks in here. Just an indication is all we're after.
We're having a wonderful time here in Daylesford in the heart of the Spa country, and it's only 50 minutes away from Melbourne. In the 1800s, spring water overtook gold as the #1 natural resource, attracting Swiss Italians to the area. It is so easy to relax here in Daylesford. You quite simply enter another world with its 72 health-giving springs and over 30 spas, wellness retreats and healing centres. There are many types of spas that you can have, from Japanese retreats, stone massages, and even a chocolate body wrap. That's got my vote. I wonder if you can eat the chocolate as well. Heaven. Vincent Street is a hub of clothing shops, eateries and galleries. It's a shoppers and foodies paradise. Well, as I'm filling up with the minerals of Daylesford, I've had a wonderful time here. I hope you've enjoyed it too, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Okay, I think what we need to do now is start to tackle the roof and get this structure in place, and then start to work on our main building. And then when I've done that, I'm going to come back and just readjust the sky a little bit, get some more detail in the water there, and then our final highlights on this big tree, and we'll be pretty well done. So there's still a bit of work to do here. The roof here of this barbecue area is going to really be our alizarin crimson. Okay, so I'm taking some alizarin crimson there, and it's got heaps of sunlight on there. It's probably a little bit too much on the pink side for my liking. I don't want to go to red though, because it'll draw the eye too much. Which is, you know, this is not what we want the eye drawn over in this section. Okay, now there are some details around around this little building here, which we need to get some more darks in there. just to give it a bit more dimension. It's also the uprights. So let's get the uprights in there completely in shadow. So these little details will make a big difference to getting this looking right. Well, things are progressing quite nicely here, and we've got a lot of our blocking done. We're getting in some little details now around the barbecue area. I'm going to start working on our main house here, get the roof in, get the shadows in, the fence, and then we can start finessing a few details around here, put some people in and so on, and then we're going to look at the big tree. So still a bit of work to do here. Let's get into it. I'm going to take a slightly larger flat brush here, and looking at the roof colour, it's really just silver colour or a grey colour. So I'll start off with our ultramarine blue here, and I'll get our titanium white in there. We don't want it too blue at all. In fact, we want it just a touch grey. I'll just pick up just a touch. Okay. When we put this on, hopefully it will start to pop out. Okay, it's quite blue. Could be a touch lighter. But let's just persist with it and see how we go. Okay. And importantly, that shadow colour that I put in there earlier has dried now, so we can work around that quite easily and get our lines right. Obviously important. That line there is really important because we're creating that contrast with our dark versus our light there. So make sure you get that right. Now, if you're just starting out painting, you want to drop by our website, freepaintingvideos.com, and get access to our 5-day free painting video series. It'll give you all the details you need to get started. Okay, now I need a dark. The dark I put on there before is probably just too harsh, I think. But I need a dark version of the, maybe not the roof line, but let me just work on this. I think it needs to go slightly to the blue side, this dark. So what I'm doing, I'm just currently you can probably hear me thinking out loud, currently just working up a dark value here to go in there, where the shadow is there, right? Bit of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue, again for that dark. And I think what we're going to do is just test this and see if that's right. So because I'm mixing with my brush, I've got too much paint on my brush, pull it out, a bit of paper towel, okay? And then I'll just pick up just a tiny little bit of paint there, and I'm going to test this just in that section there. Okay, now looking at that, it's almost dark enough, but it's probably not quite. It's too close in value. Come in here and work these details in. Well, it's not really details, it's getting this dark blocked in here. Okay. So it's darkest in that front there. Again, I keep referring back to my photo at all times. Okay. Darkest in the front there, and it gets just a little bit lighter around this side here. I don't think I've got that. Maybe it's okay. Yeah. Okay, going to go for our little liner brush here now. I'm just going to get in a little bit of our linseed oil just to make it flow easier, and there's just a couple of doors and things. The windows in there are quite a bit darker. Well, we're at that point now. We're going to start to put in a little bit of highlight on this big tree. It's not going to require much, and we'll put in some sky holes as well, somewhere for the birds to fly through, right? And then this painting is going to be pretty much finished. I might pop a couple of little ducks on the water here, and it's going to be pretty much finished. Now, hopefully you followed along and you've seen it's quite a simple painting to do. Just follow the steps, it's all about understanding what those steps are. And if you want to find out what the steps actually are, drop by our website at freepaintingvideos.com and we'll give you a whole series of free painting videos that'll teach you, what the steps are, and you'll be able to find out more about More Art School and the different classes that we run as well. Now, I'm just looking at this picture here, and what we need is a yellowy green. So we've been using our cadmium yellow all along. Okay, so there's the colour there. Just going to take that on the end of this brush, tap it in, sort of get it to a bit of a chisel point, I guess. And it's important here that we pick the right spots to start to highlight this. Now this is a, like a pine tree, a big old pine tree here. So we'll pop in, down the bottom there is going to be darker in value. So we don't want to get that too light, but up the top here certainly it's going to be more fill it in a little bit in the center there, and then as we come down towards the bottom here, it's going to be more filled in and darker. Okay, we almost want. Well, I think this one's pretty well finished. There's lots of little other details we could add in, but I think we've got to a point where you'd be pretty happy with the way it's gone. A pretty simple painting. Remember the steps we went through. Draw in your big shapes just very loosely. Block in your colours in the major shapes and get your values right for that. And then come back in with the finessing and the details and the fine tuning of everything at the very end. And if you follow that 3-step process, which we call the More method of painting, then you'll be successful in creating a painting like this as well. So have a go. And drop by our website and let us know how you've gone with the painting at moreartschool.com. We'd love to see you there. Come and join our community. And until I see you next week, happy painting. Cheers for now.